Hi, everybody. Dan Ullman, Matt Bernier, the DRF.com Formulator Race of the Day for Saturday, October the 7th, race number 9 at Keeneland. Let's take a look at the field for the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile Stakes. Our coverage is presented by Fasig-Tipton, the morning line favorite. The winner of this race last year, the number 8 Miss Temple City, is cataloged for the November sale at Fasig-Tipton to be held on the evening of November the 6th in Lexington, Kentucky. It's a wide open race, some really classy turf milers.
Yeah, and you know, Miss Temple City, all she does is run well at Keeneland, and that's something that you've brought up to me in the past. Certain horses really take to this Keeneland turf course. We know that you're going to get the best out of her. Whether her best is still good enough to win a race like this remains to be seen.
Now, we were concerned a little bit after Miss Temple City finished third in the Matchmaker Stakes as a rather heavy favorite. Her first start back since returning from an unsuccessful journey to Royal Ascot. She got back into form last time out of Kentucky Downs. She won by a neck over Zepessa, a hard-hitting mare who's in the First Lady Stakes earlier on the Keeneland Saturday card. Did you see enough from that race from Miss Temple City at Kentucky Downs to indicate that she's back on her best form?
No, especially because Zepessa was in questionable form at that point as well, and the two of them were separated by a neck. Zepessa is going to be arguably one of the longer shots in the First Lady. Why should I think Miss Temple City should be one of the favorites in this spot? Her credentials speak for themselves. Recent form, I think you have to try to beat her.
Well, here's a Graham Motion Formulator fact for Miss Temple City fans. For the past 5 years, last out winners in graded stake turf routes at Keeneland, 40%, a $6.54 return on investment. Miss Temple City has good tactical speed. She should be in closest attendance to Heart, the probable pace setter. We'll get to him in a little bit, but I want to remind everybody to head on over to the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com. Download your free Formulator past performances and handicap along with us. Let's take the field in post position order now. The number one's going to be a big long shot. That's Tyler Yu, who has won 2 out of his last 3 starts. He has really improved on turf, but he's taking a gigantic hike in class.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I don't have a lot positive about this horse. The 2 turf sprints, not bad. I can't imagine him winning.
Will there be enough pace for the late-running, long-striding Divisadero, who won the Grade 1 Turf Classic at Churchill Downs for the 2nd year in a row, 3 starts back? Didn't get a ton of pace in the Manhattan at 1.25 miles. Didn't get a ton of pace in the Arlington Million last time out. Will he get that pace at this shorter distance?
No, I don't think he's going to in order to win, but I do think he's going to make it close, and I think these middle distances are much better suited for him than the 1.25 miles that he's been running at in those 2 most recent starts. He obviously loves Churchill Downs. Everybody and their brother knows that, but I think getting back to this mile, he ran well here in the spring in a prep leading into the Churchill race. I think he's one of the horses on the short list for me.
Trainer David O'Meara has 2 horses entered in this year's Shadwell Turf Mile. We'll begin with the number 3, Suédois, who came in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year and was scratched and withdrawn from the race. This is a horse that broke a long losing streak last time out, going this mile distance at Leopardstown. I thought he had a really nice in-out trip that day, but it seems like his good form recently has coincided with running on these sort of left-handed, close to his American turf courses as you're going to get over there at Leopardstown and York, respectively.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I mean, would it be a shocker if a European came over here and ran well? No. I don't love this horse at all. I mean, I guess you're just banking on the fact that he finally got back to his winning ways. Keep in mind, that was a 4-horse blanket finish that he was involved in. And the Lasix go on for David O'Meara, who's had success, most notably with Mondialiste, who's also in this spot. This horse, if he wins, I lose.
It does appear he's in good form. However, the race 2 starts back, he was up close to a fast pace and was punching on late to only lose by a neck. Last time out, that race was fairly live. The 3rd finisher came back to win a Group 3 in Ireland. The 4th came back to run 2nd in a Group 2. The number 4 is Lequen, who goes out for Nacho Correas. This horse made his North American debut off a long layoff in Southern California in the Grade 2 Del Mar Mile. Ran evenly. I thought it was a promising enough effort. He just got a tough spot, although that was a tough spot as well, with Midnight Storm in there, who came back to run 2nd in the Awesome again on dirt with 100 Beyer.
Yeah, I suppose he's going to take a step forward, second off that long layoff, but at the same time, how much of a step forward is it going to be? I don't know. It's always difficult to analyze the form down in South America and see how it's going to translate. there's just a part of me, I would love to see him run well. I just don't know how good he actually is.
Dimension is a graded stakes winner at a mile, but he's 9 years old right now. His current form is not very enticing, and he just didn't threaten last time out of Kentucky Downs.
There's nothing that suggests he's a contender.
The 6 is Balarox, and I think Balarox is somewhat interesting here for trainer Bill Mott. The improvement coincided with the addition of blinkers towards the end of last year. He won the poker 2 starts back when being closer to the pace. It was sort of a concerted effort from Jose Lescano to get him closer to the pace, and it worked out. Last time out in the 4-star Dave, he might have had a couple of things work against him. One, a very wet turf course, which I think he likes a wet turf course. Just seems that World Approval, one of the better turf milers in the country, loved a wet turf course.
Yeah, that's the only thing for me. I have to be honest, I've always been torn about this horse. I don't know what to think of him. His 2 most recent starts, they were both very, very good. They both came over yielding ground, so I wonder if that moved him up some. But then you go back to his run here in Keeneland in the spring. He ran very, very well in the Makers 46, but again, that was a blanket finish where you had a number of horses across the wire. He's a nice horse. I think he's a horse that I'm going to use underneath and maybe defensively in multis.
Like Balarox, Mondialiste most recently beaten by World Approval. That was in the Woodbine Mile, a race where he fell far, far back in the early portion, swung wide as turning into the stretch, and sort of finished with an even kick. He was 4th in this race last year, although he was compromised by a lack of pace. I think there have been some arguments that maybe he's been off form as he's gotten older at the age of 7. Did you see enough in the Woodbine Mile that makes you indicate he's turning it back around?
No, because the other thing to keep in mind about the Woodbine Mile, I know we all talk about World Approval. World Approval, his run is that much more impressive when you consider the fractions were legitimate and the closers ran 2, 3, and 4. He was the only part of the pace that stuck around. There's a part of me that thinks Mondialiste had everything go his way that day. I don't think he gets it all this time around.
We talked about morning line favorite Miss Temple City at the Open. The 9 is flatlined, 3rd start of the form cycle for trainer Scooter Dickey. This is a horse that is a graded stakes winner at middle distances, but I think there's always been a question as to whether he's truly a grade 1 animal.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite this good, but I do think he's rounding into his better form. Whether that's good enough to get a piece or not remains to be seen.
Pace really kind of made the race in this race last year. I think they went something like 49 to the half, and Miss Temple City was able to scoot on home. Let's see what the time form U.S. pace projector has in store. And they've got the number 10, a very dangerous speed horse in Heart to Heart, out there on a relatively clear lead. That's what happened last time out in the Bernard Baruch at Saratoga. He popped his 5th consecutive triple-digit buyer speed figure. He's the one to catch, and in many ways, in his form, the one to beat.
I have to be honest, I'm a little disappointed he's here because I wanted to see him go right to the Breeders' Cup because in that mile, with the exception of World Approval, but he's not a confirmed speed ball, there's not a lot of speed right now. This horse, you know his game. You give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. Florent Giroux, this is going to be his first time aboard this horse. It's one of those things where, just conventional wisdom would say, let's just get out there and set a rated pace. I still think you want to be a little bit proactive with him. If you get a half in 47 and you're too clear, I don't think they're going to catch him. I know everyone has always said, when's he going to get the grade 1? When's he going to get the grade 1? I think he gets the grade 1 here.
He's deserving of it. He's won 13 times in his career, $1.3 million for trainer Brian Lynch. The 11 Christian C, as we see, somewhat close on the time form U.S. pace projector. This is a very lightly raced horse. He's won 4 of his last 5 starts, his last 3 on turf. He can be close to the pace, but it's hard to imagine him having heart-to-heart speed. And if he tries to go, doesn't it just hurt him?
100%. I mean, I guess it depends what the connections are here for. They're going to really try to win this race, because if they do, you're probably going to run last or second to last. Or do you decide to take off and just try to get a smaller piece of the pie?
New York bred offering plan goes out for the all-powerful Chad Brown barn. He came with a big run last time out against fellow New York bred Get Jets, who's just in sharp form right now. He's paired up buyers in his 2 starts this form cycle. He's the kind of horse that always has a puncher's chance if you give him pace. He's a nice New York bred. Is he a graded stakes horse?
No, I don't think he is. I mean, you look at the times that they've tried him in open company. He just hasn't cut the mustard. You put him back in with New York breds, that's where he fits. There's a part of me that wonders if this was the audible once Chad lost Time Test, who ended up having a foot bruise, and now he's going to also miss the Breeders' Cup, and he was supposed to come in this spot. Offering plan, he's a nice horse. I would use him underneath, but I don't think he can win.
Applicator often outruns his odds. He's 30 to 1 on the morning line here. Another horse that can be forwardly placed, but he's only 3 for 31 lifetime, and he got beat last time out in a little race at Arlington Park that doesn't measure up to the Shadwell.
Yeah, I don't think he's good enough. I do think he's going to work out a nice trip in here, and I suppose the connections need to make a decision. If they're serious about trying to win, you may be the one that's forced into the really, really bad position where you've got to be the one to push Heart to Heart. I don't think they want to do that. I think they're content sitting and trying to get a piece.
We know one thing about the 14 American Patriot. He loves Keeneland, as evidenced by his rallying victory over Heart to Heart in the Makers 46 during the spring meet. Things haven't exactly gone right for him since then. Completely overmatched in the Group 1 Queen Anne and Royal Ascot. Completely compromised by the ground and the 4-star Dave. There is an argument to be made that he's a little bit dirtied up coming into this race, but we didn't really like the Makers 46 as a whole.
Well, look, he's not as bad as the two most recent starts would suggest. I also don't think he's as good as the Makers 46 would suggest either. I didn't like the race as a whole. It hasn't come back very good. Arguably the weakest Grade 1 of the year on any surface at any distance. He's a nice horse. He's just not the kind of horse for me. Now you add in breaking from post 14. That's a miserable, miserable draw. I think you're going to get an improved effort because, again, we touched on it. Keeneland seems to be that kind of horse for course angle. I just don't like him.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile. You are going with the 10 Heart to Heart, big speed, catch him if you can.
Yeah, I think they try to break this thing open. You go on, and I think he gets the Grade 1.
I like the slight improvement that Bala Rocks has seemingly shown from start to start. I like the recently introduced tactical speed. And if this pace is moderate, I think Bala Rocks can be sitting sort of second and third along with Miss Temple City. Let's see how good he is. This is kind of the class quiz for him. But he did enough good things against World Approval last time out that I'll give him a shot at an okay price in the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile. It's a huge afternoon of racing at Keeneland, and if you are playing the Saturday card from home, no better way to do it than with a DRF Bets account. You get a $300 sign-up bonus immediately once you sign up to DRF Bets, and all you have to do is go to drf.com/fall and utilize the promo code FALL300. Approximate post time for the Shadwell Turf Mile is at 5:45 Eastern, and our coverage is presented by Fasig-Tipton.